Hi, Angie here from Crafts at Home. Welcome back to this video series where I'm going to be featuring the art of quilting from Shape Artworks. Hopefully you have completed the previous issues and have everything stored flat for joining in later issues. With this issue we'll be making the churn dash block and you'll be receiving the blossom, red flower and lime gingham fabrics. Before you begin, iron all of your fabric so it's nice and flat. It will make it easier to work with and improve the overall finish of your quilt. As the blocks continue to increase in difficulty, it's important to read through the instructions. Make sure your cutting layouts are correct and take notice if you need to flip over a template for multiple pieces. Let's start marking and cutting. So I've marked all three of my fabrics with my templates. Now just make sure when you're doing the yellow fabric that you mark it the right way, just so it all goes round. If you do it on the other side, it's not too much of a problem. It just means that your churn dash is going to go round the other way, but it's not too problem. So to start with, I'm going to do my red fabrics. I'm just going to pop my cutting ruler up against that first line, take my guard off and cut from top to bottom. Move the excess out of the way and turn to do the second cut. And there we go, that is our centrepiece cut nicely. So next I'm going to move the smaller one out of the way and bring my larger ruler in, just so I can do the long lines on this fabric. Again, just nice long fluid movements. Make sure you have it lined up really nicely before you start to make that first cut. And there we go, that's cut into two strips. So I can now take my smaller ruler and cut the smaller pieces. So I'm just going to go and carry on with these, and I'll see you back here in a moment. So now we've laid out the fabric as it's going to finish the churn dash square. The one thing you need to make a note of is with all of this yellow blossom, if you lay it down the wrong side up, you should, if you've cut it correctly, have it pointing to the top left and the bottom right. So you need to mark three sides. Now you should be marking the two short sides and the one long side at the bottom. If you have cut your fabric the other way round, still mark it that way, but your triangle, your piece will actually be that way if it's the wrong side up. You then need to place it so the long side that you've marked is against the red centre square. So the first thing we're going to do is take one piece and fold it over. Then we need to match the sides up and pin together. Now we're going to be sewing these in one at a time, and as it's all going to be inset stitches, you need to go from the intersection there to the intersection there. If we pop over to the sewing machine, I'll show you how to do it. So we've got this now pinned on to our first edge, and we need to sew in. So you'll be able to see where the lines cross is where you want to start sewing your seam. So you want to go 3 or 4 stitches forward, the same amount back, and then carry on. And then at the end, where it crosses over, is where you want to finish. So you sew 3 or 4 stitches to the end, then back, then forward again, finishing on that cross. So to start with, if you place your needle down in the middle of the intersection, just turn your material each way so you can see all the way down that line, and you can make sure that your needle is on pinpoint. So I'm going to take that first piece out. So forward, then reverse stitch back till you get to where you started, and then carry on again. I'm just going to take that pin out and carry on. Go slow towards the end here, just so you match onto that seam. I'm just going to double check, and I am on that perfectly, so I'm going to go back 5 stitches and then forward 5. Lift my needle up, and there we go. I'm just going to trim off my tails here. And there we are. I'll see you over at the ironing board in a moment, and I'll show you how to put the second piece on. So we've got our first piece sewn on along here now, and we're going to place the second. So you want to turn it round and then just gently move your blossom out of the way. You want to bring in your next piece. The line that you've drawn is where you want to be with that piece, and you want it going round so they go in the same direction. So just take it round a 90-degree angle, and then you can match it up. So you want to do exactly the same, but make sure that the point here where you'll sew up to, or from, depending on which way you go in, doesn't go over on here. It should match in. So pop it down and make sure that it just matches in nicely to the seam. Mine was a little bit short, so I'm just going to pull it back a little bit and double check again. So just put a pin where the line intersects, keeping hold of everything else. Pull your top fabric up and just see where the pin's stuck in. I could move it over a fraction just to make sure that it goes up to but not over the yellow blossom. Double check again, and that's perfect. So keeping everything nicely lined up, making sure I've got a hold of both fabrics at the same time at all times. I'm going to pop that first pin in just to make sure that everything's nice and secure. I'm going to pop a second pin in now, making sure I've got the edges nicely matched up all along. And there we go. So again, as I did with the first, I'm going to start at the crossed intersection, do some reinforcement stitches at the beginning, go all the way down to the end where I'm going to do a couple more reinforcement stitches just before the intersection here, and then I'm going to place my third piece and my fourth piece on exactly the same. I'll meet you back here when I've got all 4 pieces on and sewn. So when you've finished with all 4 of your blossom pieces, you'll have something like this. As you can see, all 4 are sewn on and the seams actually meet on the red flower really nicely with no gaps, but it doesn't go over on any either. So you want to now start to set in your lime gingham. You can choose any corner to start with, and you can choose any seam. But I'm actually going to choose this one closest to me here, and I'm going to go onto this seam here. So the first thing you want to do is just smooth out the blossom as flat as you can without ironing, and then flip in the lime gingham right side down on top of the blossom. Match up your top edges as close as you can, and then pin together. Be careful when you're just getting the fabric into place, as you are working back with bias edges again, and you don't want to pull them out of shape. So the easiest way I find to sew these is start right on the edge of the top edge of the diamond. You then want to work down, and as you get down to here, you just want to fold all of your fabric back out of the way so you're not going over any fabrics. You want to go down to this intersection here where your lines will cross and do some secure stitches there. Just 5 back, 5 forward to secure the edge, and that will be that done. I'm just going to carry on pinning all 4 on so I can sew all 4 at the same time, and when I've got that done, I'll see you back here. So when you've finished sewing all 4 of your lime triangles on, it ends up with this funky looking pinwheel. So next we want to turn them all around and onto the blossom. So you want to pull everything back and then bring it over. Can get a bit fiddly, so you can choose whether to do one at a time and sew that one and then move on to the next, or you can do all of them at once and then sew them all at the same time. It's entirely up to you. So you want to work along there, making sure you've got all of your other fabrics out of the way. Just make sure your seams line up nicely. And then pop a couple of pins in just to make sure that everything is lying nicely. So to sew this one, I'm going to work from the edge again. I'm going to go down and stop at that intersection again and do some more stitches to secure. So I'm going to go and pin all 4 of these, then I'm going to do sewing for all 4 of these, and I'll come back with the finished block. So once you've done all of your inset seams, you'll have your finished square. You just need to do your ironing of all your seams. So the easiest way to do it is with all of your outside seams running in the same direction. So just take your iron in the same direction. I'm going clockwise around, so all the blossom and the line gingham is going around in the clockwise direction. Just keep moving your fabric around as you go in. Just make sure you've also got your seams pulled apart as well, just so you get a nice sharp seam with no fabric lying underneath it. So we then want the red flower pointing outwards. Just make sure you don't disturb any of your other seams at the same time. Give it a little bit of steam if you need to. And just keep going round your square until you've got everything lying nice and flat. And there we are. I certainly found that a lot easier than when we did it as a centre motif in issue 25. So just follow the instructions and take it slowly. Keep going over. Just have a look at all of your edges. I can see one there where my blossom is folded over my lime a little bit, so I'm just going to open that up and make sure that it's nice and flat. There we go. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video and the churn dash block that we've created. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you'll be notified of our new videos. Further information about Crafts at Home, the Crafts at Home forum, the art of quilting and Hash-Shape Artworks can be found on the social media pages which are listed in the description. Don't forget to join us next week for issue 28, where we'll be making the windmill square block. Bye for now.